Did you know that after flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing on March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanished? Even though searchers turned up the debris that was almost certainly from the crash, official announcements were questioned, and numerous explanations regarding the disappearance were presented, but nothing was found. What happened to it, and where did it go? Watch the complete video to know the answers. Hello and welcome to Plane Crashes Explained, where we discuss the most mind-blowing reasons and facts behind the most heinous plane crashes. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss future updates. Without further ado, let's get straight into this. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew members, loses communication with air traffic control less than an hour after departing Kuala Lumpur, then veers off course and vanishes. The majority of the plane, as well as everyone on board, vanishes. Victims' relatives questioned the Malaysian government's claims regarding the plane's disappearance. They organized a protest at the Malaysian embassy in Beijing to force the Malaysian government to divulge any information concerning the plane's location. The plane took off at 12:41 a.m. from Kuala Lumpur International Airport and was due to land at Beijing Capital International Airport at 6:30 a.m. local time. The aircraft's last automated position report was sent at 1:07 a.m. At 1:19 a.m., air traffic controllers received what turned out to be the final voice transmission from the doomed jetliner's cockpit. "Good night, Malaysian 370, a message that suggested nothing out of the ordinary. There were 10 Malaysian flight attendants in the cabin. They were responsible for 227 passengers, including 5 children. The majority of the passengers were Chinese. The rest came from Indonesia, Australia, India, France, the United States, Iran, Ukraine, Canada, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Russia, and Taiwan, in that order. Captain Zahari was in charge of the radios in the cockpit that night, while First Officer Farik flew the jet. The setup is standard. Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, the controller at Kuala Lumpur radioed as the plane approached a waypoint at the start of Vietnamese air traffic jurisdiction. "Good night," she said. "Good night," Zahari replied, 370 in Malaysia. He didn't read back the frequency, which he should have done, but the communication otherwise sounded fine. It was the final time the world heard from Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. The pilots did not check in with Ho Chi Minh and did not respond to any subsequent attempts to contact them. The sign indicating MH370's transponder vanished from Malaysian air traffic control screens 5 seconds after the plane passed into Vietnamese territory, and the entire airliner vanished from secondary radar 37 seconds later. It was 1:21 a.m., 39 minutes after departure when the plane landed. The controller in Kuala Lumpur was oblivious since he was preoccupied with other traffic on his screen. When he eventually did, he figured the jet was in Ho Chi Minh's hands, someplace beyond his reach. Meanwhile, Vietnamese air traffic controllers watched MH370 enter their territory and then vanish from radar. They appear to have misread a legal agreement that required Ho Chi Minh to promptly notify Kuala Lumpur if an airplane that had been handed off was more than 5 minutes late checking in. They attempted to contact the plane several times but were unsuccessful. It had been 18 minutes since MH370 had vanished from their radar screens when they picked up the phone to tell Kuala Lumpur. What followed was an exercise in befuddlement and ineptness. The Aeronautical Rescue Coordination Center in Kuala Lumpur should have been contacted within an hour after the disappearance. It was still not done at 2:30 a.m. At 6:32 a.m., an emergency reaction was eventually launched after 4 hours. The hunt for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 began in the Gulf of Thailand, where the plane was flying when radar contact was lost. After it was established that 2 passengers were using stolen passports, investigators looked into the possibility of terrorist participation in the plane's disappearance. However, this notion was quickly dismissed, at least in connection to the 2 men. The passengers on board Flight 370 were from 15 different countries, with China accounting for more than half of the passengers and the United States accounting for 3. Then on March 15th, investigators said satellite communications showed Flight 370 had deviated substantially from its designated course and proceeded west over the Indian Ocean for at least 5 hours. According to Malaysia's Prime Minister, the flight was assumed to be lost somewhere in the Indian Ocean on March 24th with no survivors. The mystery of how a commercial airplane could vanish without a trace drew global media attention as the search for the plane continued, with more than 24 countries, including the United States, taking part. According to radar records, Flight 370 was likely flying on autopilot for hours before running out of fuel and crashing into the southern Indian Ocean, according to Australian officials participating in the investigation in June 2014. Officials did not speculate publicly on who or why the plane was put on autopilot after it deviated off course. However, they suggested that the crew and passengers may have fallen unresponsive due to hypoxia or oxygen deprivation before the plane crashed. Officials did not explain what would have caused the oxygen shortage. Theories arose in the weeks following the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, ranging from mechanical failure to pilot suicide. The disappearance of the ACARS and transponder signals sparked persistent conjecture of a hijacking. Still, no one or organization claimed responsibility, and hijackers looked unlikely to fly the jet to the southern Indian Ocean. The fact that the signals were likely turned off from inside the plane suggested that one of the crew members had committed suicide, a possibility that Malaysian authorities have yet to rule out. But nothing suspicious was found in the captain's, first officers, or cabin crew's behavior before the flight. Some suspected that aircraft 370 was shot down after the debris was discovered, but no evidence of shrapnel from a missile or other projectiles has been identified. Shortly after the plane vanished, it was suggested that it was a terrorist attack, probably a jihadist attack. Between March 9th and 14th, 2014, media magnate Rupert Murdoch tweeted that the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 confirms Islamists turning to cause trouble for China. Later, he speculated that the flight was hidden in North Pakistan like bin Laden. These claims have not been confirmed, and Shiv Malik of The Guardian described them as conspiracy theories. According to conspiracy theories, MH370 was either kidnapped by the US and flown to the US military base on the atoll of Diego Garcia in the British Indian Ocean Territory, or the airliner landed at the base immediately after being told to do so. On March 18th, when the latter notion was presented at a White House daily briefing, Press Secretary Jay Carney answered, "I'll rule that one out." Several elements supported the Diego Garcia theory, including the co-pilot's cell phone contact and the plane's westward direction, both of which were compatible with the flight path towards the island. In the same vein, the Daily Mirror stated, without citing a source, that the captain had practiced landing on an Indian Ocean island with a short runway on his home computer using a flight simulator. Several news outlets stated that the captain had practiced landings on 5 runways, at least 1,000 meters long, in the Indian Ocean region, including Diego Garcia and Male International Airport, MLE, and other airstrips in India and Sri Lanka using his Avia simulator. According to CNN, American political commentator Rush Limbaugh speculated that the plane was shot down. Supporters of this argument point out that military forces have shot down civilian airplanes in the past, citing the shooting down of Iran Air Flight 655 by the US in 1988 and KAL-007 by the Soviet Union in 1983 as 2 examples. The Associated Press's Scott Meyerowitz called accidental shoot down one of the 7 leading plausible theories on March 19, 2014, but added that no evidence that Flight 370 was brought down by a government entity. A Malaysian defense official, Akbar bin Haji Abdul Samad, claimed it was very unlikely that his country's Air Force shot the plane down. 4 months after Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanished, disaster struck again when one of its jets was shot down over eastern Ukraine near the Russian border on July 17, 2014. All 298 persons on board the plane, which was also a Boeing 777, died. Flight 17, which took off from Amsterdam and was en route to Kuala Lumpur, was shot down by a Russian-made surface-to-air missile fired from territory controlled by Russian-backed separatists fighting the Ukrainian government, according to European and American officials. The rebel leaders and Russian President Vladimir Putin denied any involvement in the tragedy. Whatever happened to Flight 370 embarks a big question on airport safety and security. People should have been questioned and brought into the light. The more you think about this disappearance, the more it makes you scared to be in this world. What do you think might have happened to the airplane? Let us know in the comments section. That's all for today. If you found this video interesting, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to share the video with your friends and family. Thank you for watching the video, and have a nice day.